Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo? Track number 9. I gotta get there on time.
Dale Richard Hurd, born in Spokane, Washington in 1940. He grew up in Army barracks housing all over the Pacific Northwest, where his father was in charge of building dams and missile silos for the Army Corps of Engineers. In high school, he was a standout athlete before an accident at his father's construction site crushed his back. Dale went to college in Pullman, Washington, but didn't graduate. Instead, he moved down to Los Angeles and worked as a greeter at a jazz club. It was then, in 1962, that he first caught sight of the Pacific Ocean, a turning point in his life. He taught himself how to surf, moved to Ventura, and for the next 8 years did not venture more than 2 miles away from the coast. Sometime during his Ventura days, he decided to write. He worked for a brief time as a junior reporter at a local paper before he tried a short story. He wrote about the surfing legend Mickey Dora and sold the story to Surfer magazine. They offered him the editorship. Dale turned it down. By this time, Dale was on his own path, traveling the West in his van, supporting himself through a series of itinerant jobs. By working in casual labor halls, he absorbed the experiences that would inform his writing. The impulse to tell these stories eventually led him to a small writing community in Bolinas, California, and finally to Hollywood, where he tried his hand at screenwriting. By then, Dale was 46. I'll never forget the day I met him. I was selling ideas for movies and producing them. I was in my office at the Disney studio when a friend walked in with Dale. They had just been across the hall pitching a story to a stone-faced executive. We spent 40 minutes commiserating about the film business. I noticed right away that he had kind eyes. After Dale left, Tony, my producing partner, announced that he had one of Dale's scripts on his desk. It was called Warrior, and that night I took it home to read. It was a revelation. As a writer, Dale was irresistible. We had a fast courtship.
Will I ever find the girl of my mind, the one who is my ideal? Maybe she's a dream, and yet she might be just around that corner, waiting for me.
Tommy, our first son, was born a year later. Perhaps there was no role Dale loved as much as being a father. Andre was born 5 years after Tommy.
Here I go, singing low, thinking about where I'll go. Bye, bye, blackbirds.
Theron, another 4 years after that. The joy he took in his baby boys was palpable. As the boys grew, Dale became totally wrapped up in their athletic pursuits. When Tommy proved himself to be an ice hockey prodigy, Dale convinced me to move the family to Nova Scotia, where we lived for 5 years. He even built a small ice rink behind the house. When Andre showed talent on the tennis court, Dale traveled to every match on the junior circuit and, much to Andre's chagrin, cheered and coached from the sidelines. With Theron, our youngest, Dale was momentarily thrown off balance when Theron showed an aversion to team sports. Instead, their shared love for the wonders of the natural world became an abiding connection. The Dale I lived with for 40 years always had a book with him wherever he went. On the house TV, there was always a tennis match, hockey game, or his beloved Clippers playing. Later in the night, he happily retired to write. As many of you know, Dale cared nothing for fame or fortune. But hand in hand, along with this rejection of self-promotion, went an unwavering self-confidence in his gifts as a writer. As many of you also know, the severe injury to his back, sustained when he was a teenager, came back to haunt him. He could no longer surf. However, it was to the ocean where he always turned for energy. A Greek epitaph cut into stone aptly describes this impulse. Pray for fair weather if you want. The sea will be the sea. Dale, my dear seafaring man, you are now one with that wink of eternity.
Here I go, singing low, thinking about where I'll go. Bye, bye, blackbirds. Make my bed and light the light. I'll arrive home late tonight. Blackbirds, bye, bye.